Welcome to Home Farm on a cold spring morning. Today we're going to be taking our sustainability to the next level. We've got the air source heat pump in, we've got the solar panels in. Now it's a matter of getting sustainable from a food production point of view. We planted the first of our orchard trees on the right hand side. We're going to be getting another 9 trees delivered tomorrow. They will be planted here. There are going to be a variety of plums and damsons. We will plant the apple trees next year on the field alongside. But this video is going to focus on us building our vegetable patch. Our vegetable patch is going to go in this area here. It's going to be 9 by 9 meters in size. We've got a variety of wood. We've also got the paling fencing that we're going to get around it. And what we're going to start with today is trimming the area down so that we can make it a little bit more manageable to work with. And we're going to start dropping the posts into the ground, cementing them every 1.5 to 2 meters. Once those posts are in, we're going to put the cross support wood around the sides, to which we'll be able to attach the paling fencing in due course. So the objective behind the vegetable patch is, as is quite obvious, we're going to be growing our own vegetables so that we can have access to good quality produce. The way that we're going to build them is that they are going to be on raised beds. That will also give us the flexibility during the winter months and during the autumn to also continue growing stuff there under polytunnels. So taking a look here, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking these posts. They are 1.8 meters long. They're 75 by 75. They will be going into the ground about 60 centimeters because the paling fencing on this side is 1.2 meters high and each panel is 1.8 meters wide. So the post, to reiterate, is going to go in about 60 centimeters into the ground, and that will make it really sturdy, and will create the provision that we need for the paling fencing to be able to attach to the frame that we're going to be creating. So what I've done is I've taken this trimmer and the mower and I've cut out the square for the 9 by 9 meter veg patch. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to place the paling fence, just temporarily just prop it up just to see what it looks like. But this just gives you a good idea of what 81 square meters looks like. That's the plan, and we'll now be taking the next step of probably dropping the first stake in the corner. By far the most challenging thing about working on slopes and fields like this is that the ground is obviously uneven. So once you've got your first post in, as we discovered, it's very difficult to try and establish where your lines are going to be so that you can actually be straight. So we've used our spirit level to make sure that that post is perfectly straight. Now what we've done is we've taken 2 pieces of timber and we've just joined them to make a right angle around this post, and what that does is it gives us a perfect line straight down the field and across the field, from which we can basically continue building. So each of our posts is 1.8 meters long, and they have to be separated at 1.8 meters in accordance with our actual plot size, because we're 9 meters across. We're going to put each post in at about 1.8 meters across. That gives us 4 posts plus the 2 end ones. So with that done, what I'm now going to do is I'm going to finish the straight-ish line, the one that's where we're not contesting with the slope too much. We're going to put that post in, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, all the way across the field, utilizing the right angle of this corner post that we're going to use basically to determine exactly where the patch is going to go. Progress yesterday was a bit slower than expected, purely because we had to plant some additional fruit trees. Those are all in and looking good, but we've got the posts around the back all in. They're all cemented, they're all in really nice and solidly in a perfect straight line. So what's going to happen today is we're going to put all the holes in down the left hand side of the vegetable patch. the reason that I'm going to put the holes in first and then look at cementing the posts in later is because this is where the real steep gradient is. So the paling fencing is all going to have to go in stepped, which means that we're just going to have to be really careful and meticulous in making sure that we don't have huge gaps underneath the paling fencing, because ultimately the reason we're putting the fence up is to keep little animals like rabbits out. So you don't want to be creating extra big gaps for yourself that you then have to try and somehow fill in. So that's what awaits us today. Hopefully by the end of play we'll have the bulk of the holes done on both sides, both the right and down the left hand side of the vegetable patch. Then tomorrow it's going to be a matter of taking the posts, trimming them to size, working our way down and cementing them in. It's all about just being meticulous and taking your time, because this is obviously something that does take a lot of time. You want it to be up and standing for many years to come, so it's a matter of doing it properly. The progress continues to be steady. We've got our next row of posts in. The reason that these are higher than the rest of them is because the land slopes quite steeply away from us. So in order to put the paling fencing in, we're going to step it down, but it's difficult to ascertain exactly where you're going to cut and trim the posts. So we've just put them in full length. Then we'll put in each section of the paling fencing in. We're also going to reevaluate the positioning of our raised beds, purely because we just think it's going to be too much hassle to try and put the gate on that side. Purely from the gradient, you're going to be fighting against it. So we're probably going to move the gate up to here, in which case we just got to redesign things ever so slightly to give us a good entrance into the actual veg patch. But progress, like I said, is steady. It's all beginning to take shape. It's been a little bit longer than expected, purely because each of the posts has to be put in perfectly. You don't want to have them wonky and out of place. And obviously we're mixing the cement for each post separately up at the top. So it's been a little bit slower, but at least it's being done properly. So I reckon the fence is probably going to take another day to get all the posts in. Once the posts are in, what we're going to do is probably start building the raised beds so that we have easy access to and from them. And then we'll actually move ahead in completing the fencing itself. So it's been a couple of days since our last update. As we can see, we have put all of our raised beds in and all the pillars are also in place. The biggest job that we had to undertake was that we removed the turf, as we can see here, from the area where the raised bed was going to go. And the reason we did that is so that we could invert the turf, let it dry out to release any potential insects and bugs and pests that we didn't want in there. To be fair, we didn't really come across too many. There were a couple of grubs that we were able to get rid of. But generally speaking, it was quite good. The earthworms we have relocated into different portions and different beds. So we've preserved all of them. All of the pillars are obviously also in place, as we can see. And all of the raised beds have been lined with plastic, purely because we have used tannalized timber, so treated timber, and we want to prevent any leaching of chemicals getting into our soil, so they have been lined. Due to the gradient that we've had to deal with, the beds are actually running flat and in line with the land. I have decided that that probably wasn't the ideal situation, so what we're going to do is raise all of the beds on the front end so that we can basically have them level. We will then fill those with additional pieces of wood. The gaps will be quite large, I think. And we will also prop up any of the corners with some recycled bricks that we've got. And then we'll extend the lining on the inside of each of those beds further down so that it completely covers that. And the reason for that is we don't want the soil that we have worked so hard to make to be able to wash away when we get any significant rains. Once the raised beds are done and completed, we will then look at putting the paling fence around them, which will take us just an additional step forward towards completion. On this site that we're looking at now, we're going to put in a 3.6 meter compost heap. It will be hidden from view. We are going to board that up. We are going to have a recycled pallet at either end, and we will also line the boards because they will be tunnelized timber once again. They will be visible from inside the veg patch, so we want it to look attractive, and they will be lined from the outside or the inside of the heap, so as to again prevent leaching and to create a nice environment for our compost. That wraps up part 1 of our video. Please tune in for part 2 when we start to fill the raised beds with soil and the paling fence goes up around the veg patch. See you then. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching. You can also follow us on Twitter or check out our website at myhomefarm.co.uk. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button below, and if you have any suggestions for any other videos you would like to see, please leave a comment. We hope to see you on our next video.